Hello guys, this is your good friend, TheMovieCuban here, and I am back with another Diablo 3 build guide video. Now, the very first thing I want to say is that this build is not of my own creation. I originally saw this on Anthony Evans' channel. Um, I don't remember who Anthony said that he got it from. However, the original build is on uh, Diablo fans. So all all credit for this build goes to its original owner. Um, I just have been having so much fun with this build that I figured I would make my own build guide for it. Um, so please don't flood the comments with, "This isn't your build. You didn't make it." Because believe me, I know. I know I didn't make it. I am, however, going to be uploading a video relatively soon of a build that I myself have been working on. So look forward to that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about what we're here to talk about. And that is the Trag'Oul um, Summoner build, I believe is what it's called. So let's actually start with the gear first, because this is going to make it so that a lot of our choices later make sense. First, we're running the entire 6-piece set of Trag'Oul's avatar. As you can see, I've augmented quite a few pieces of the gear already, just missing 2 ancients here, and then I can augment those. But Trag'Oul's makes it so that you gain the effect of every rune of Bloodrush, um, while at full life. Your healing from skills is added to your max life for 45 seconds, up to 100% more. And your life-spending abilities deal 3,300% increased damage, but cost twice as much life. And your healing from skills is increased by 100%. We are also, for the sake of this build, going to be running Reaper's Wraps, so that health globes restore 30% of our primary resource. These have not been rolled to the way that they need to. I need to switch that physical skill damage to cold skills, but I just haven't gotten around to that. You're going to want to be running Crispin's Sentence, because this ring has pretty much become mandatory on like every single Necromancer build that I've seen so far. And you're going to want Dainty's Binding, because that damage reduction when you use Decrepify is really nice, and since we will be using Decrepify in the build, it just seems kind of foolish not to. Rounding it out, we're going to be running the Endless Walk set, though I'm going to talk about this in a bit, because I don't fully see the reason to run the Endless Walk set. It doesn't feel like I'm standing still nearly enough that it would warrant using it. But that's okay. So, for now, we're going to be using Compass Rose and Traveler's Pledge. Our legendary gem should be Enforcer, because we are running pets. I'm running Esoteric Alteration, just because I found that the additional toughness that you get from it is just really too good to pass up. And then, of course, Bane of the Trapped, because, you know, practically every fucking build runs Bane of the Trapped. And then rounding it out, we're running the Jesseth Arms set. Try saying that 3 times fast. So you're going to want Jesseth's Skull Scythe and his Skull Shield. And this makes it so that when the target of your command skeletons dies, your skeletons are automatically commanded to attack a nearby target. And while your skeletons are commanded to attack a target, all of your minions deal 400% increased damage. This, paired with the multiplier for Trag'Oul's and Crispin, just makes for a shit ton of damage. And that's not even counting the things that we're running in the cube, because we're running Tasker and Theo, so that your pets attack a little bit stronger, do a little bit more damage. We're running the Circle of Niluja's Evil, which summons an additional skeleton mage when you cast it, and they last for an additional 4 seconds. And then we're running Scythe of the Circle, because we will be running Bone Armor in this build for some additional toughness. And the additional damage that you will get for your skeletal mages while it's active, again, just feels a little bit too good to pass up. For gems, I was told to run topazes and then an amethyst in the helm, but if you're thinking that you're feeling a little bit too squishy, you can by all means swap out the topazes for diamonds, to give you some more resistance, or you could put rubies in, I've even heard, give you some more armor. So that is entirely up to you. For our skills, we're using Decrepified Dizzying Curse. This is a curse that reduces enemy movement speed, and they have a chance to be stunned for 2 seconds when hit. It also reduces the damage that they actually dish out. So, that's pretty nice when you're trying to stay alive. We're running Skeletal Mage Life Support because it's the only rune for Skeletal Mage that actually costs health, and therefore is the only one that would actually trigger the Trag'Oul set. 400% weapon damage is physical over 2 attacks, lasts 8 seconds. However, these mages will last 14 seconds now, thanks to the Circle of Niluja's Evil and the secondary effect of the life support rune itself. We're running Bone Armor Dislocation, another stun skill, and it's also going to give us some damage reduction, up to 30% when we have full stacks. And that lasts for 60 seconds, but do remember that Scythe of the Circle is going to be taking 4 seconds off of that duration every time you cast your skeletal mages. So just make sure that you don't let that drop off entirely, or else you're going to become really squishy until you get it back up. We're running Command Skeleton's Freezing Grasp, just to give us another control impairing effect to proc Crispin's 300% bonus, and to provide a temporary freeze. So, if you have a particular troublesome enemy and you need him to just stay put for a second, you can just launch all your skeletons at him. We're running Blood Rush Transfusion. It doesn't really matter what rune of Blood Rush you pick. You can honestly pick no rune if you felt like it. I just feel like I'm just choosing Transfusion for the sake of the video. And then finally, we're going to be running Devour Cannibalize, which makes it so that every corpse we consume not only restores 10 essence, but it will also restore 3% health. And this is going to be one of the ways that we make sure that we keep our health up as we go. For passives, you're going to want to run Spreading Malediction, because we are using Decrepify, so the additional 1% damage bonus for each enemy afflicted by Decrepify does stack up pretty quickly. We're running Life from Death, so that consuming a corpse has a 20% chance to spawn a health globe. This is basically just to make it so that Reaper's Wraps can keep restoring your essence. This is to make it so that the Blood for Blood passive over here, where picking up a health globe removes the health cost of the next blood spell, can keep going. And you gotta keep track for your Blood for Blood stacks to make sure that you're not spending them all at one time. I mean, I suppose you could, it doesn't really matter, but I just like having those extra stacks And I'll show you a little bit more of what I mean when I get into the gameplay. And then finally, we're running Extended Servitude, so we can increase the duration of our skeletal mages by another 25%. So that adds another 2 seconds. I forgot about that when I was talking about the duration earlier. So we're actually going to have our skeletal mages out for about 16 seconds, which actually isn't bad at all. Going over into our Paragon points, you can see that I am 1200. Well, you probably can't see because I'm an asshole and I'm blocking my Paragon counter with me. But I am a 1201 Paragon character, so what I put in Paragon isn't necessarily going to be what you're going to put in Paragon. I will say for this build, you do want to max out your essence and movement speed first. That's kind of just a no-brainer. And then for the rest, I just dump it all into intelligence. We have plenty of vitality between the Trag'Oul set and the different skills we're running, so that's not really a problem. In the offensive tab, I'd start with critical hit chance and damage, then go to attack speed and cooldown reduction. Cooldown reduction isn't super important in this build, since the only thing that we really have that cools down is our bone armor, so don't worry too much about that. In the defense tab, anybody who's seen my videos can pretty much say it with me. Resist all armor, life percent, life regen. If you're running Trag'Oul just off the bat and you're a lower Paragon level, I'd recommend actually starting with life and resist all first, and then worry about armor and life regen. And then for our utility, go ahead and do resource cost reduction and area damage, and then worry about life per hit and gold fine. So that's the actual build portion of the video. We're going to run a Greater Rift now, so that you guys can have a chance to see this build in action. I think for the sake of not making a fool out of myself, I'll go ahead and just run a 70 GR. 70 nowadays seems like a pretty fair point for people. A lot of people seem to be getting to it a lot easier than I did back in the day. So very first thing I do is I numlock. Well, apparently the very first thing I do is die. But the very first thing I do is I numlock Devour to make sure that I'm constantly eating those corpses when they die. Then you spam your skeletal mages, bring them out to 10, make sure you're decrepifying everything, and then just watch as the damage ticks. And make sure you pick up those health globes, because they make it so that you can cast your skeletal mages for free, and then you're not eating into your own health while using them. And while it isn't super bad if you use your own health to fuel the spell, if you try and spam skeletal mages, you'll find that your health drops really quickly, and that's just something that you're probably going to want to avoid. Because all it takes is you lowering your health to a certain level, and then you get hit by an enemy and you die, and nobody likes doing that. And as you'll notice, I'll pick up the health globes as I go. One way that you wouldn't have to do quite as much running around would be if you rolled additional health globe pickup radius on your gear. But I didn't really feel the need to do that. I'm always running around trying to evade enemies anyway, so what's the harm in What's the harm in just running to get the health gloves? Where the hell are all the elite packs? Can't waste my time with all these trash mobs. And remember, if you find yourself surrounded by enemies and you feel like your health's getting a little low, you can actually blood rush through the enemies to regain health. It's one of the runes on the skill. So do keep that in mind. I just don't usually worry about it, since I'm always running to pick up health globes and all that good jazz. And also make sure that you decrepify everything when it comes by you, because that's not only gonna slow them and make them deal less damage, but it's also gonna make it so that you do more damage. Holy crap. I feel like I'm lagging and I shouldn't be lagging. It's probably just because there's so many enemies on screen. Jesus. Oh my god. Help! Help! I'm lagging! I'm lagging and I won't move! That may be why. There we go. Yeah, that's much better. And I like how I went through that lag spell and didn't die. That was also pretty nice. Alright. Oh man, I love power pylons. Here's the next floor. And I will mention, I am running augments on some of my gear. Um, I do have a lot of ancients, as you saw earlier. I think like half of my gear right now is ancient gear. But even without ancient gear, like even without a lot of ancient gear, I was still able to run. I personally was able to run 66s. I'm kind of a scrub until I augment gear. I've noticed I seem to always have the problem until I start adding that extra main stat. But I'm sure other people, even with subpar gear, are able to run like 70s, no problem. I'm just one of those people who apparently can't do that unless I fully optimize my characters. I don't know what that's about. Maybe I'm just a scrub. Who knows? Who really cares? Because I have fun playing the game, and that's what matters to me. Alright, Gom. And you're out of there. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Trag'Oul Summoner setup brought to me by Anthony Evans. Thank you so much, Anthony, for raising my attention for this setup and bringing it to my attention. To the rest of you, I hope that this build um, is a playstyle that you can get behind. I know that I personally have been having a lot of fun. I know that some other Twitch streamers that I've seen have been using this build ever since the Inarius set got its mini nerf. So that's all I really have to say about this build. If you want more in-depth information pertaining to it, of course, check out the build on Diablo fans. I might even include the link in the description just to help you guys out. So that's all for me, guys. Happy gaming, and I hope to see you next time here on the TheMovieCuban channel. Peace.